Listen!
Hello and welcome to NVC, IGN's Nintendo podcast for the week of May 7th. I'm your host, Casey DeFreitas, and this week I am joined by Tom Marks,
Hello.
Brian Altano,
Hi.
and Per Schneider.
Greetings, everyone.
This week we're going to talk about EA finally agreeing to release more games for the Switch and which games those might be, and a really awesome fan-made Animal Crossing direct that describes the quality of life improvements we all want, and a couple of other things like the really big news that we missed last week because that's just our curse. But we'll get to that soon. Let's start out with that EA is releasing more games to the Switch. Basically, EA said in its fiscal Q4 2020 financial resorts. Gosh, maybe I'm
You
just
want to go on vacation?
I'm just dreaming of vacation, guys. Like that's just what I want. No, but the results that it plans to release 14 games to the Switch between now and March 2021.
Huh, that's a lot more than
Are
zero.
you guys- yeah, a whole lot more. And that does include games like Burnout Paradise, which is coming out soon. But let's talk about that price tag, guys.
Not great.
Brian,
50
tell us more.
Yeah, $50. Seems. I don't. I'll put it this way. I don't think there was a single person that saw that and they were like, "Oh, great! What a great deal! Like, what a great value."
I know.
It's so unfortunate because I love Burnout Paradise. I think that's a great game, and honestly, it holds up pretty okay nowadays. Like not amazingly, but pretty well. But I don't think I'd recommend that game for $50 right now.
Especially when you can buy it on other consoles for under $15. I know Brian and I.
For under $5, it was. I think it was like $3 on Steam last week. It was $8 on PS4. It launched on day and date on its original launch day as a remastered game for $10 cheaper than what they're selling it for half a decade later now or whatever. And it's like we've talked about the Switch tax before, which is usually can be accounted for the fact that it costs a little bit more money to make those tiny little cards than it does to make a disc. And I think some people are willing to pay that because they're collectors, and I completely understand that. And it stings a little. And there's definitely games that I've paid more for on Switch that I probably shouldn't have, but I did because there's the convenience of it. But this is just astronomically high. It's also the Nintendo Switch is not really a portable system for most of us right now. So I'm not even paying for the ability. Yeah. And so, I would love for it to be again. I think we all would, but the idea of being like, I'm going to pay this money so I can play this on a train or an airplane kind of goes away when it's like, well, I'm going to play this on the couch. Might as well buy it on PS4 or Steam.
Yeah. It's disappointing pricing for sure. I'm of two minds. On the one hand, a good game that was good 10 years ago is still a good game now, right? And so how do you put a price tag on that? But on the other hand, I played it. I'm a returning player. And so this kind of puts it out of my price range that I would pay to play it again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think EA unfortunately does this. And they did this with on the Game Boy Age too, with higher prices than the competition. It's a bummer. I wish they'd stop.
I wonder if they're going to put this out and the sales are going to be low because of the price tag, and then they're going to say, well, I guess Switch fans just aren't interested in our games.
Yeah, I was going to say I guess this is slightly offset by the fact that we are, piggybacking this off of the news story, them saying they will support the system more. Because I really I hate when they do stuff or when any company does stuff like, oh, this is going to be our test. And if you fall for it, then we'll send more tricks your way. But it doesn't really feel fair to test the waters with a $50 game.
FIFA was the test, right? Where they released a lesser version for the Switch. I don't know. I mean, the commitment. I'm really happy with the commitment. That's a lot of titles. We'll see. We'll see how they're priced and whether there is any attempt to do some original development around the Switch. There's certainly, I know we looked at our now playing list, and we're all playing these clever indie games that are a good value and original software that you couldn't play before. And so it'll be interesting to see how they compete with that. If it's greatest hits.
It'll be interesting too, specifically with Paradise, because the Switch hasn't gotten a ton of racing game options, and I don't know how something like Paradise is going to handle without an analog trigger, to be honest.
Right.
Like, I'm a little concerned about that, whereas like that's not an issue to me in Mario Kart at all. Like in something like Paradise, it might be. I don't know yet.
Isn't it just go fast or don't go?
Yeah,
I'd say if it was
that game is that game is more. You couldn't do like Forza with it.
Yeah, you could do, of course, if you wanted analog acceleration, you could put it on the stick.
But would you want to use that?
No.
That's how we played like F1 games on old Nintendo consoles.
Yeah,
I still remember the Trials game. I can't remember the Trials Rising. The most recent Trials one on Switch had the joystick for the like little touches, and it was like just didn't work very well.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple attempts at sort of bringing home like Forza-like experiences on Switch. There's a couple games that sort of walk the line between arcadey and simmy, you know, stuff like the Asphalt games. But it's definitely an oversight on their part to scale racing games or realistic racing games to the system without analog controls or analog shoulder buttons. And I think that like obviously that's gonna hold back the inevitable Super Mario Sunshine port as well. So it's not just racing games. Like there's other games that rely on that.
It's doable though. But like the one question I'd ask about EA is like, what changed their mind? I mean, it's gotta be just the trajectory of the sales. And so they probably left behind the original thinking of saying, let's test the waters with FIFA and see how it does, and recognize that, well, maybe that's not the type of game that people buy a Switch for. And, you know, they got over that hump, and now they're going to test it by opening the floodgates.
You know what I think it was, honestly? I think it was potentially they did some pretty significant price drops to the Unraveled game. And I kind of regularly saw that in the top 10. Are you drinking wine?
No, it's water.
Yeah, I bet. It's yellow.
Yeah, that's not yellow, my friend. It's green.
I mean, like, there's some wines that have a green tint. What, like
hiding it in the look like
German wines.
Yeah.
Grüner Veltliner.
But yeah, I have a feeling that they probably saw some great money back on that and realized that it's a pretty awesome place to drop your games. And like there's so many games that they could be putting on there already. There's a lot of stuff that I think that connects well with the sort of like younger audiences there. Like if you look at like the Plants vs. Zombie games and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited that they're doing stuff. I hope the $50 price point isn't something that they keep doing forever.
Yeah. And we do have at least 5 EA games already confirmed for the Switch, including like your annual sports games like FIFA, Madden, and NHL, as well as previously announced games like Command and Conquer Remastered. But with those 5 games confirmed, what are the other 9 EA games that you want to come to Switch, or at least expect to come to Switch?
I think Brian already touched on one that I was predicting.
Unravel, right?
Well, yeah.
Pear's got a list.
Pear does have a list. Wow, that was amazing. But I was going to say similarly, Plants vs. Zombies. I think that series is a dead easy fit for the Switch and would work great for Switch. Even if they like supported touch controls, that would be really, really great to see.
Yeah, I mean, we brought up Garden Warfare, the PvZ spin-off, so many times, which is like very much the Splatoon audience. But I would hope that they would update it, maybe add Nintendo characters to it, maybe they do a Splatoon crossover, so something clever. So it's not just, hey, buy our old game again now on the go. But I think the original PvZ, the 2D games, are probably the best choices for the platform.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. And I was going to say the PopCap games. I don't know what EA did with PopCap. PopCap used to be, they were just on this trajectory. They made, if you guys remember Bookworm, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Then they made Zuma, Bejeweled, Peggle, PvZ. They kept on creating new kind of casual games that would hook core gamers too. And they've all but disappeared. And I think you can bring them all back as smaller experiences.
I forgot about PopCap.
Yeah, PopCap was amazing.
EA did too.
Yeah.
Peggle holds up.
Oh yeah,
great game still.
All of
that is the quintessential Nintendo Switch impulse buy too.
Yeah,
like you Peggle pop up and you remember the incredible slowdown moment just as the ball went up and then Yeah, it's amazing. That's like such an awesome video game moment. Some of the games I had on my list were Dead Space 1 and 2. Some of my favorite, I would say, sort of like sci-fi horror Metroidvanias ever. Where there's no sight right now of like the Prime games coming or the collection of Prime games. There's really not enough Metroid on Switch in general. And so I really like Dead Space. Another one I threw on there was The Saboteur, which I don't know if any of you remember. It was sort of like a PS3 generation open world game where it was basically entirely black and white, and you restored color to the world by taking it away from taking areas away from dictators and stuff like that. It's super fun and like really slept on, and would be like an awesome sort of like arcadey game to play on Switch.
Yeah, I would love to see too if they can go into their catalog of Star Wars games and see if anybody can pull off a port. Obviously, Fallen Order is getting DLC updates right now. If you can get The Witcher to run, yeah, I know Fallen Order didn't run smoothly on the current gen machines either, but like somebody can pull that off, right? And then I think The Sims is an obvious one. Animal Crossing is selling to, is bringing a lot of female gamers to the system. And The Sims is the other notable female gamer, kind of core gamer game that could do really well.
Yeah, there still isn't a Sims on the Switch, huh?
Isn't that crazy?
No. Yeah,
yeah. I feel like that has to be on the top of the list, right?
Yep.
It has to be a.
And don't make a janky one. And then I'm going to go super deep into the well of EA classics, but I actually think EA hasn't done itself a lot of favors by completely forgetting its roots and some of the games that made them, like Archon 2, Mail Order Monsters, Racing Destruction Set, Pinball Construction Set, Populous. These are all these really cool early PC games that I feel like, if they came back with some collections, I think it'd be really cool on the go now. Archon is so good.
I feel like you're not wrong about any of that, but at the same time, I feel like if their strategy right now is not going to be test the waters, it's instead going to be let's shotgun a bunch of stuff out. They're going to take the safest bets they can to start, at least in this first year. I think they're going to choose the things that take the least amount of work to actually get running on a Switch. But that's
true. You can emulate Archon 2 in 4 minutes.
That's fair actually, yeah. So maybe it will go that way. I'm interested to see if we get something like Apex, because I know the Fortnite had such a huge following on Switch that I'm wondering if Apex could even run on Switch.
It was rumored for a while. Yeah, same.
But this is the thing is, I've brought this up before. I don't know if we've seen a Source Engine game running on Switch yet, because Valve hasn't brought their games to Switch, and Titanfall, Jedi Fallen Order, I think, is on Source as well, or is that on Frostbite? I can't remember anymore. But Apex, like there's a lot of Source Engine games that EA has now through Respawn that could or could not show up, and I'm really interested to see if that happens.
I was gonna, man, I don't know what else. Does EA technically own
Fallen Order is
Mass
Unreal
Effect?
4.
Fallen Order's Unreal, okay.
Yeah, and obviously Mass Effect games.
Yeah, that's like because I was thinking BioWare, but EA technically owns BioWare, so
yeah. Skate is the other one that is an awesome franchise that they just forgot existed. Gave up on.
Yeah.
There's also like I don't know how these would even work, but like I remember having a ton of fun with like, and I'm not even like a big boxing guy, but the Fight Night games were super fun in terms of like kind of like realistic punch out.
That's right. Forgot about that.
There are a lot of different games that EA could be bringing to Switch. Those are some of the ones that we think might come. But let's move on to another game that all of you are very familiar with because our new name is Animal Crossing Voice Chat. But there's a fan-made Animal Crossing Direct that describes the quality of life improvements all of us want. And this was made by YouTuber Nick Ha, and it's his debut YouTube video. And it was made incredibly well. It looks like a legit Nintendo Direct, but it's very obviously not. Like, he made it very apparent. He wasn't trying to trick anyone. It's just like, here are all of the quality of life improvements coming in at this fake update. And I know all of you really love Animal Crossing, but what do you think about the points that he made?
Oh my god. So just to
Spot
describe the
on.
video, if you haven't watched the video, he does basically when you go shopping and you want to buy something or when you go and craft something, it doesn't just require you to hit the button. It says how many. So you have this little slider and you can go 3, 4, 5, 6 medicine or fish bait or whatever you need. And he just applies that as a very simple UI element to everything you do in that game, basically. And like when you're watching it, you're like, God, yes, please.
Yeah.
Or instantly dropping something from your inventory on the floor rather than having to select and select drop, or instantly using something in your house's storage for crafting rather than having to run in and get the freaking wood for the millionth time. So
Guys,
I know.
there's a sort button. You can
Oh yeah.
sort your pockets.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine being
Imagine
able to
that.
press a button and sorting your inventory. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of a game that had that feature before. Like, how revolutionary would that be for Animal Crossing? I'm being very sarcastic. I hope everyone knows that.
But
But
we but we
Yeah.
had multi-select before in previous Animal Crossings where you highlight multiple items and it's just not in here, you know?
mhm.
Yeah, it's bizarre. One of the things I really want personally is I've completed the fossil side of the museum.
Ooh.
Wow.
And you can still bring fossils. Fossils don't just disappear from the game; they still keep popping up everywhere. And I was like, well, I don't even know what to do. I guess I'll put a bunch of like woolly mammoths outside of my house. And so you bring the fossils to Blathers, and he still goes through the entire spiel where he's like, I don't really know if we need these, like, but I can tell you what it is. And you're like, why don't you just give me like a fossil detection tool or something, or like let me learn a skill so I don't have to keep bothering you? Because every single time he just goes, I'd love to buy these with my own money, but that would be insane. And like, I'd get in a fight with my wife when I got home because there's like a T-Rex head in the bedroom. And so he just goes through his whole spiel. I ad-libbed all that. That wasn't real. But yeah, I want that gone because it's just all this extraneous levels of dialogue for so many tedious little things.
So-
Same thing with when Gulliver shows up.
Oh
My
God, the
God.
same story, right? So what Nick did in the video, he shows you basically holding down a fast forward button. So
Mhm.
Blathers go super fast through that stuff. But honestly, like past Nintendo games, when you're in a long discussion, you could just hit plus and it shortcuts it, to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
outcome. It's like it is really weird that they weren't able to do that for launch, but I gotta figure they'll fix that.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, like this video physically hurt me to watch.
Oh,
Like it is so well made. Like the graphics that he made for it look so realistic.
uh-huh.
That, like,
Even the VO was fantastic.
VO's great. Like every part of it is so highly produced that like I watched it and I was just sad at the end of it. I was just like, why this
Why
isn't
isn't
real.
this already in there?
Yeah, and I'm just sad.
Wow.
And I think one of the things that did that too for me is that the video is really great because he doesn't pick things that are like out of character for Nintendo or unrealistic, right? Like he picks things that are generally I could see Nintendo like actually implementing. Like there's a ton of quality of life changes that you could put in Animal Crossing or you could suggest for Animal Crossing or want that like Nintendo's never going to do or like don't make sense and like that they kind of avoided that in this video where it's just like this is all things that you could very easily just like or not very easily but you know what I mean like
Yeah.
could slot into the game. The development time
Right.
behind them is probably very complex. I'm not trying to belittle that, but like you could slot into the game without feeling out of place in any way, without feeling like they're taking something away from the vision of whatever Nintendo wants with it. And like, man, I tweeted this, but I hope they just take it as a to-do list. Like I hope someone at Nintendo sees this and it's just like, man, this guy's got a point.
Yeah.
These were all points that I noticed when first playing, and I was like, man, this sucks.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what were you gonna say, Perry?
No, I think it's going to be pretty visible. I think this game, Animal Crossing, is so highly played. I mean, just the if you look at on Google Trends, the amount of searches around Animal Crossing, it's like 6 times Tiger King. Like it's like the amount of interest in that game. It's so high. It's like the perfect game for people being stuck at home. Which means little things like this can blow up, and I think this video is going to be really visible.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see if Nintendo actually does something and gives us an actual Animal
Do it.
Crossing Direct highlighting all of the UI and quality of life changes.
Yep.
So, onto some small news, including the very big news from last week that now makes it small news because it's a week old. But there's a new the news that Nintendo's June Direct would be postponed dropped after we recorded last week's episode. And that's really big news, but all of you guys already know about it, so we will keep this short. But basically, VentureBee and Eurogamer both reported that Nintendo's annual June Direct, which usually premieres during the week of E3, has been pushed back as Nintendo employees adjust to work from home orders. Nintendo has also reportedly told partners that it needs more time to develop its first party games and that devs are off the hook and can reveal their games separately from the Direct if they'd like to. I'm bummed. I'm super bummed. I was really looking forward to an early June Direct, and now we might have to wait until who knows? Who knows?
Well, we wanted Nintendo as part of Summer of Gaming, which is our 2-week event, starting in early June, and so we've been hoping that they wouldn't delay it. And then unfortunately, I mean, it sounds like it's not a marketing decision. It's simply, getting the content ready in time is just not feasible. So it is a bummer. I'm sad. It would have been nice to have their announcements alongside of the other stuff that's going to get announced from other publishers. But it means, maybe some of the third party stuff will come out in early June still, and it just won't be part of a Direct. But I want to know if all the Mario rumors are true or not.
Yeah, me too. That was the big one, and I've said this before, but I'm really bummed that the universe is kind of, obviously much bigger problems out there, but the universe has robbed us all of having like a Mario themed E3 booth for Nintendo. I think that would have been like a really awesome big celebration. But I think I'm confident that they're going to find ways to celebrate that Super Mario's birthday or whatever it is across
Does Brian sound like a robot to anyone else?
Yeah, Brian definitely turned into a robot.
I turned into a robot?
Yeah.
It's just your connection.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
You're right now.
It's like if the entire world uses the internet at the same time, stuff can happen.
How about now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's
No
cool.
longer a robot.
Did you just hit it on the side?
No, just wait. I just love to work from home. Just a real treat every day. So yeah,
if I can be heard.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just have to check. Pear, I'm ignorant about this, and I want to know if you can clarify it for me. It seems to me, and maybe this is an incorrect impression, that Japanese developers have been slowed down a little bit more by the work from home transition than Western developers. Is that an incorrect impression? Is that a cultural thing? Like, do you have any kind of insight on that?
Yes. So let's see. What can I say?
Yeah. So I did read an article from the Washington Post about this, but I would like to hear a firsthand.
So my impression in talking to many developers, and especially around this Summer of Gaming thing that we're doing, is that some developers, everybody struggles with the work from home situation, but especially developers who need to keep a tight lid on hardware and want to ensure that their software data is transferred securely are struggling a bit. So, imagine a company working on an Xbox Series X game or a PlayStation 5 game, and suddenly the entire company, their dev has to work from home, which means all of the hardware that is literally bolted to a desk has to move to people's homes in order for them to continue. Some artists don't need that, but like obviously programmers and now apply that to what you know about Nintendo. A company that will bolt even 3DS hardware to your desk 4 years after it's been out. And I can imagine that they're really struggling with some of those moves.
Yeah, I think there's also there's basically like a work and home culture there that's slightly different than ours. There's obviously apartment sizes. And something everyone's dealing with right now is sort of like internet connections, Wi-Fi issues. On Friday, I am going to overnight a like 2 terabyte hard drive full of game capture footage to an IGN video editor who's going to work on a project with me who has bad internet. And it's just like, that's just something I have to do. But I couldn't imagine if that game footage was like unreleased stuff that no one's ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
And it gets lost in the mail, right?
Yeah. So Nintendo is, in case nobody picked that up, but Nintendo is very focused on security. data security. They don't love transferring anything digitally unless they really figured out that things are secure. This is definitely going to slow them down.
And I sympathize with all of that. I mean, that's not like any sort of judgment. This is, everyone is adapting to this in different ways.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's just sad. Well,
Sad.
and so we're not getting the Nintendo Direct in the beginning of June, and Evo 2020, the really big fighting game tournament slash I don't know if I want to call it a convention, but a very large gathering of fighting game fans, originally set to take place between July 21st and August 2nd, has been canceled due to coronavirus. I think we're gonna have at least one of these every 2 weeks where there's another thing that's canceled.
Yeah, Evo is doing digital. A lot of
Yes.
esports competitions, play still happens digitally, but it's not the same, right? If you've ever
Yeah.
been to one of these events.
Weird question, but how can you sort of safeguard against cheating in a situation like that?
I don't know.
I feel like when you're in a sort of like set up secured environment, you can check to make sure there's no hardware or software modifications, especially on joysticks and stuff like that, fighting sticks.
Yeah, it's not ideal because also you have to rely on home connections, and that introduces all these different issues.
Mhm.
But then again, like pro players, at least in the pro player circuit, people are serious. That's their job, and they probably have the biggest, fattest pipes at home as well. I don't know, like it's
And
definitely not the same.
And imagine
Right.
trying to cheat and being caught. Like, you would be destroyed. That community would never look at you the same ever again.
Right.
Right.
Because I know stuff like Melee, which obviously has endured what feels like decades now of just competitive play, is pretty specifically local and almost entirely done on CRT TVs that people have thrown out, and
Oh, yeah.
hardwired GameCube controllers and stuff like that. And so there's a very specific physical set of criteria to enable that competitive play that I think doesn't really exist here anymore.
Luckily, Nintendo's net code is really strong across the
That'll be fine.
Do you remember Warp Pipe?
Yeah.
It was.
I also remember trying to go to people's Animal Crossing towns yesterday.
It's almost like the title of our podcast is a in joke.
Should we share how we go to each other's towns at IGN? We, a lot of people use apps, external apps that create queues. We use Slack, and we telephone each other, where like you give the dodo code to one person, and when they're done, they give the dodo code to the next person, but never two people, because if two people arrive at the same time in your town, all bets may be off, and the cycle is interrupted. No, the netcode is so bad; it needs to be fixed. The game is fantastic.
Yeah.
Online, no.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how Evo 2020 goes online. But this next bit of news is more of just a PSA. If you guys like Mario, Uniqlo's Super Mario 35th Anniversary clothing collection is now available. It's really just a couple of cool Super Mario shirts. I really like Uniqlo's quality of shirts.
Yeah.
They feel really nice. I actually really like the way they fit. I get a size small, and they're just unisex shirts, but I just like tie them and wear them as crop tops. I think they're cute.
Me too.
Yeah, crop tops for everyone. Just tie them up like around your belly button, wear high-waisted pants, and that's your look for the day. But that is available right now on Uniqlo. It's like UNIQLO.
I ordered one of them the other day. Actually, it was I think it was like $15 with free shipping for one shirt, and that's totally a good deal.
Yeah, it's really not bad.
Yeah, I actually,
cool.
In terms of like brand partnerships this year, I like this stuff way more than the stuff they did with Levi's, which is a little loud.
I actually had a girlfriend of mine text me and another girlfriend and talk about how much she liked a lot of the stuff. Like, they have these like overall Mario shorts, like shorter rolls. I don't know what to call them. But they actually really like them. So some people like them, but like I guess like loud high-waisted shorts and short alls.
Yeah,
I think the name of that. That cannot be the name of that.
Overalls.
Shorter alls.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people that can pull off that kind of stuff. I'm not one of them, so I got the it's like a black T-shirt with like a 8-bit Mario on it that says 35, and I'm into that.
Is that your age?
Yes.
35 forever. And the last bit of small news for this week is that Wonderful 101 physical release is going to be delayed. It's now launching on June 30th in North America and July 3rd in Europe due to COVID-19, but the digital launch is still set for the original release date, which is May 19th in North America at least, and May 22nd in Europe.
Cool.
So, yeah,
Honestly, this is just surprising to me at all. Like, it's just like not the delay that it's not delayed digitally.
Oh, yeah.
This is, I think, I mean, obviously we'll have to see how it is when it comes out quality wise, but like, man, this kudos to them for just turning this around really fast.
Maybe
That's
they were
really
working on it before and just like assumed.
Yeah,
For
I'm
sure.
sure they were, but like,
Yeah.
it's just cool to see a Kickstarter for a game like this not be like 3 years down the line and then it never comes out.
Mhm.
Well, that's it for small news this week. Let's talk about games out this week, including Lonely Mountains Downhill. Have any of you gotten a chance to play this?
Yes,
Tom, tell me about it.
I really like this game. It's a downhill, kind of like a minimalist, blocky sort of art style downhill dirt biking game, but you play it from the third person where like the camera is always sort of like looking at the mountainside. So you're looking at, it's kind of like you're watching this little blocky biker like go down a diorama of a hill. It's very, very cute. And it's very, very zen because the way they break it up is I think there's 4 mountains, I think. And so the way they break it up is the first time you go down a mountain, and then each mountain has like different trails. And the first time you go down a trail, there's no time limit. There's no worry about deaths. There's no worry about anything. You just go, and it's very pretty. And there are little lookout points where you can stop and get off your bike and just kind of like hang out. And it's like very zen. And then the next time you do it, there's bonuses for like dying a minimum or a maximum amount number of times or taking a certain number of times. So then it gets a little harder, and then they increase that. They make it a little quicker, a little fewer deaths, and like so it starts very, very zen, and then it just like gets as challenging as you want it, which is really, really nice. It's just like I'm a huge fan of this game.
I'm planning to play it this week, so I'll
Yeah, me
report back
too.
next week in what we're playing. Also out this week is a game called Void Basters. I was like, oh no, a curse word, but I mean it's part of the game name, so I'm Void Bastards. And it's out on the 7th for $30. I've seen some of our friends at the office play this game, and it looked really interesting. But Tom, you described it as a roguelike FPS. Continue.
Yeah, it's basically like FTL. I think a lot of people know FTL. It's pretty much like FTL, but instead of doing like top-down strategy ship combat, every time you go to a new point, you're going to a first-person shooter and you like loot a ship full of space ghosts, pretty much, usually space zombies and space ghosts. And it's got this great comic book art style. It's a really cool game.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw about it. Gosh, I just like can't even talk anymore. You're the first people I talked to today, guys.
Oh no.
It shows.
First hour of the spoken word out loud today. Also out this week is SuperMash out on the 8th for $20. And Tom,
Oh, Tom.
This
tell
one
us
I haven't,
about this game.
this one I haven't played, but this got revealed in the Nintendo Direct in December, and it's
Oh,
that
wow.
game you might remember. Where
I remember it now. Okay.
Yeah, you pick like 2 genres, and then it dynamically creates a game based on the 2 genres mixed. And like, so you can get games that look like Legend of Zelda, but it's a bullet hell maybe, or stuff like that. And it's all like retro themed.
I remember being excited for this, so now I'm gonna have to check it out. Thank you for reminding me that this exists.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Me too.
All right. Well, that's about it for games out this week. Let's talk about games that we are playing. Brian, why don't you go first?
I've been playing 2 games a lot. Streets of Rage 4, which is so awesome. I love it so much. And also Moving Out, which I love just as much for completely different reasons. I think they're 2 of my favorite co-op games in a long time, for sure. Perry, you're playing them too, right?
Yeah, my daughter and I were playing both Moving Out and Streets of Rage yesterday. As actually, my son joined Moving Out as well. Streets of Rage is just funny because, like, to me, that was one of the predominant genres when I played games in arcades like in the Final Fight days, and like my kids have never played games like this, so it's
Oh
really
yeah.
fun. Yeah, it's like it's completely new to them. Like the fact, like the way that you pick up the weapons, and also that you can punch each other, which that's usually what we do. Um,
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's like this perfect blend between homage, but actually adding enough variety and combos and things to it to keep it interesting. It's really fun. And
Me
then
too. I think it gets like surprisingly deep too. I like the other day I randomly hit a button at the exact right time to like karate chop a bottle out of the air that somebody was throwing at me, and I was like,
yeah,
"What? You can do that?" And it was like it's changed everything for me now. Like I have a whole new approach to it. Yeah, it's super fun.
and then
And then
moving
moving
out,
out is great.
it's just like it's basically overcooked, right? Like you have to work together to get stuff done, and the enjoyment is comes out of you not doing it perfectly. you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think what's a little different about Overcooked is it has this weird it's the physics are like completely insane, which I love. It's so much fun. But it's got this strange mechanic where you basically have to like in Overcooked you make plates of food and you serve them and either they're right or they're not great or they're totally wrong and you either, anger customers or you satisfy them. And for this you basically have to move a set amount of furniture pieces or items out of a house or a moving plane or all these random places and then bring them to a truck, and the truck basically has a grid on it for where you can fit stuff. And when I first started playing it I thought you could just basically throw a couch on it and it would just count, and it doesn't. You basically have to play like micro Tetris in the back of this truck, and so you and your partner will get all of the stuff out to this truck and then realize that's not good enough. And so like the last 45 seconds are frantic of you hopping in the truck, jumping on top of each other and all over the place, throwing lampshades, throwing things out of the way. And
Yeah.
then the truck closes up and you're like, got it, done, shipping it.
My favorite is like and the last item you don't have to get it in perfectly. It just has
Yeah.
to stay long enough. So if you have like a fridge or something, you're just pushing it in there the whole time until the
It's
counter ends.
it's also super funny to just like you can break a window, like a window in a guy's house, and just throw his TV out of it to get to the truck instead of walking out the door.
And it has weird references. One house is based on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You can drive the car out of the second
Oh,
floor.
yeah,
One
yeah,
is
yeah.
one is Seinfeld. One is the Seinfeld apartment. And like you can tell because the mission starts and one of the character goes like, "What's the deal with blah blah blah?" And like they make little jokes that match the movie franchises it's based on. But the fun is like when you carry something heavy together with another person and it doesn't quite fit anywhere, and you can like throw it out the window, and one person pulls and the other person pushes. Like the physics play of it is fun, and then taking breakable items and tossing them to each other, and the other person having to catch them. That's where I
Yeah.
feel like the game really comes alive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's so
totally
funny.
agree.
It's so funny how much Overcooked has just become a genre now,
Yeah.
right? Like it's there's moving out. There's another game about like renovating houses that's basically Overcooked, but it's really funny. And I totally agree. I think moving out is a lot of fun. It's sort of easier than Overcooked at the beginning, right? It's much easier to learn, but then also it does have a deceptively high like challenge to it where I feel like when I was playing Overcooked with friends, the first few levels we were just like 3-starring every time. I don't think I've gotten more than one gold medal on anything in moving out on the first try. Like it is a really hard game to do well. Like it gives you a lot to work towards in terms of like maximizing that stuff.
Yep.
Guys,
I
I have
al-
sorry, go ahead, Per.
No, I was going to say, I know you guys probably talked about it when I was out for the last 2 weeks, but obviously Picross S4 came out. So I play that. I usually fall asleep with my Switch, and then like I wake up and I have like 3 hours of gameplay on a puzzle and only one thing filled out. But two really good Picross games came out. One is Pixel Cross Adventure. That's kind of like it has an overworld that's a little bit like Earthbound, and you walk around and you find the puzzles on the map, and
Oh,
then you
cool.
solve. Yeah, they're like these portals, and you beat them, and it fills in the object. It's kind of like this silly storyline, and it's really well done. Good puzzles, and then Picross S4 is just the master. Of course, the puzzles are good. The interface is perfect, and it's got some really big puzzles in there. If you own the previous three ones, so
The
that's really cool.
oh wait, so does it connect with the previous three?
if you have a save file on the previous 3, and you can create them afterwards too, it will unlock a 40 by 30 puzzle, like the biggest possible puzzle for each one of the first S games you have. So
Oh man,
S,
that's awesome.
S2, S3, so you get these big bonus puzzles.
Yeah, I have all 3 of those, and I'm definitely gonna buy the 4th. I think one of the things that's really pushing me towards it is it's $10. Like,
Yeah.
Oh wow.
it's so cheap. And I think I probably put like 20, 30 hours into the each of the last ones. You Perry, you've probably done like
Yeah.
hundreds, right?
Way too much. But yeah, S4, they're so similar, but S4 is the best one because it has the most modes and it has some of the bigger puzzles, but they're all so interchangeable. So if you pick one up for cheaper, you can start with any of the games.
I haven't played 4 yet, but Pear, the most important question of all: how's the music?
It's good. It's not. It's not. First of all, I turn the music off after like about an hour because
Yeah.
it just repeats. You can switch it manually, but it's not as good as the previous ones so far. But I also turn it off quickly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Parent, I'm most interested in one of these games. Cooking Mama Cookstar.
Yeah.
Played it.
So first of all, I'm playing a lot of Good Job. Don't sleep on that game. Great game.
Actually did
Play
want to
it.
take a second to talk about Good Job because I played it over the weekend and I played it in co-op,
Yeah.
and it is so much fun and really silly and really funny, but also I get the same score on every single level and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I get an overall B and then a DD.
Okay.
BDD, every single thing. Am I not breaking enough stuff? What am I
Yeah.
doing wrong?
You're not
I
causing
gotta
enough
break
mayhem.
I gotta break
But
more things.
how good are the forklift and like crane levels?
I
And all
love
of
the
that? So good.
forklifts. So, like, but even on those levels, like, my partner would work on actually solving the puzzle or,
Yeah.
like, the whatever you needed to do, and I would just run around in a forklift destroying as many things as I could, and we still got a D.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm just not chaotic enough
You,
to
you,
get
you
a better
gotta
score
you
at
gotta
this
do
game.
better. But you asked about Cooking Mama. So I
Yes.
ordered Cooking Mama as a physical cartridge because I was worried it was gonna disappear. Seems like it hasn't. Um, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's very simple. Like at this point, you would expect the Cooking Mama series to be a little bit more evolved, have maybe a story mode where things build on each other. But it's basically like, here you go, bunch of little waggle challenges. Pick any from the list and
Mhm.
complete them. And some of them are very long and they outstay their welcome. So it's not a well balanced game, but it's also not terrible. Like if you're into games where you use the Joy-Con to simulate the actions like cheese grating and all of that stuff, like moving around the Joy-Con, that's exactly what it is. It is just very, well, maybe very mechanical feeling. So, like, do you remember the cooking mini game in Mario Party, right? Like,
Yeah.
it felt that one feels more organic than the version that exists in Cooking Mama. Cooking
Mm.
Mama has the whole like spread the butter in the pan thing and you move the pan the same way, but it's just not nearly as good as this mini game in Mario Party. And this is a cooking based game, so you figure they would get this right.
Yeah.
It's okay. If you played any of the previous ones, it's similar, it just hasn't evolved, and it's not like the 3D Rumble and stuff, it's just not next level.
Well,
Eh.
Tom, do
5
you have
out
any
of
games
10.
you wanna 5 out of 10?
Mhm.
Isn't that bad?
Mediocre.
Mediocre. Okay.
It's not
It's
good.
fun. It's fun for kids, I think. Kids
Okay.
get more fun out of it, but it just feels a little rote.
Yeah. I think our reviewers' biggest complaint was that there wasn't enough challenge or there were no consequences.
There is. I mean, you
Yeah.
can burn stuff and she gets mad and you get worse ratings, but it's like it's not terribly hard to
The
be
thing
perfect.
the thing that he brought up in the review, specifically Travis Northup, our reviewer for that, was that no matter how bad you do a recipe, you always like complete it and can move on to the next one. And the food at the end always looks identical to if you did it perfectly.
It's always Instagrammable.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's always the same. There's definitely nuances. You can mess something up, but it's like you can tell it's designed for kids, and
Mm.
so it's not punishing for you messing up or not being perfect for sure.
Yeah. Tom, what about you? What games have you been playing?
I've been playing Animal Crossing still, and then a lot of stuff on PS4. Basically, this is not the show for it, but I in the last week beat Last of Us, Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, The Last of Us is DLC, and I'm halfway through Uncharted 3. So I'm on a Naughty Dog kick right now, which is not exactly a Switch kick.
Uncharted 2 is the best one.
Also,
I agree. Same. 2 and Lost Legacy.
I really liked Lost Legacy too, but
Yeah.
2 has more cool set pieces. Like the train was so good.
Oh God, yeah.
And the tank chase.
Well, Lost Legacy has that same train. It's back.
Welcome to Uncharted voice chat.
Yeah.
well, I'm also going to go off topic. This is also not the show for this, but the last week and a half or so, I've been unable to play as many games because my hands and wrists have actually been hurting pretty bad. So I watched all 60 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, all of Somali and the Forest Spirit, half of Code Geass. What else did I watch? All of Devs. What else
Wow,
did I watch?
Devs is great, isn't it?
A bunch of Mr. Robot.
Okay, I watched Money Heist. Did you watch Money Heist?
No, I haven't watched that. Is that good?
It's like Spanish Fast and the Furious without cars.
Okay. All right. I'll try it if you're recommending it to me.
Netflix, that's great.
The last thing I want to mention is that there's this new anime called Oda Cinnamon Nobunaga, and it's about Oda Nobunaga, the Japanese warlord, having been reincarnated as a Shiba Inu in modern Japan. And all of the other warlords have also been reincarnated as dogs, and they'll hang out at the park and reminisce about their days of warlords together.
That sounds amazing.
It is hilarious. You should all watch it. And the ending credits for the show have actual dogs in it. So they like got all the dogs to dress up like I don't know. It's very funny and very ridiculous. I was so bored, you guys. I don't know what people do when they don't have video games. I was just like, what do I do with my life? Like,
cook. You can cook something.
I did cooking. I did the exercises I could do, but like, I made a cake. I mean, like, I don't know. There's only so many things you can do. I cleaned my backyard.
Walk your cat.
I walked my cat. I did watch her climb a tree. It was very fun. Cool. But sorry for going down that rabbit hole. Yay anime. But let's move on to our favorite game, question block. So this
not a game.
I know. Whoops.
That's not a LaCroix.
So this question comes from Clark from Cleveland. He wrote into us at nvc@ign.com, which you can write into us as well. And he told us a story about he recently had to replace his Majora's Mask 3DS with a refurbished 3DS because his screen cracked, unfortunately. But it got him thinking. This is from him. I was wondering, what are your favorite console designs, special editions, or just overall? I'm a huge fan of the way the top-loading NES looks. It's subtle on its own, but with the cartridge in for playing, it becomes a display stand showing off that game. Thanks for the amazing shows and stay well. So, what are your favorite console designs?
The thing that just jumped in my head first and foremost was the Nintendo Wii. I think that is like one of the most beautiful looking video game consoles, even though if it wasn't the most powerful. I really liked the stand it came with to make it sort of seem angled. Where's Pear going?
He's getting something. I already got some things.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Majora's Mask 3DS that Clark was talking about. I love this. I had the hardest time choosing which one to get because it was between this one and a Monster Hunter one.
That's a good one.
What did you bring over?
He can't hear you yet.
Oh no!
It was a very shiny cube. It looked like.
Yeah, no, I had it on show and tell.
Yeah, you did.
That's the GameCube Special Edition from Panasonic and Nintendo.
Wow.
And for those of you who are just listening, that is a mirror finish. You guys just have to come over to the video version if you're listening to this. I also brought over a GameCube. I love the design of the GameCube. I think it's just so sleek, and it has a handle, so when it breaks, you can turn it into a lunchbox. It's good.
The Q has two handles.
That's really good. I'll cycle through three of my favorites very quickly because I'm a huge Nintendo handheld guy. One, the original Game Boy, just big, beige,
iconic
brick with the green screen. Yeah, iconic. It's got this weird. The ridges on the back. I love this system. It's chunky and adorable. Two, the NES GBA SP is one of my favorites. This is basically launched with the classic NES series. Yeah, it's got sort of like a metal sheen to it. And 3, the Famicom Game Boy Micro,
Oh
which
god,
is
the Game Boy
gold and
Micro in
All
general,
right,
the Game Boy.
Tom,
Yeah,
10
I
seconds.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the GameCube too. I love that thing, and I love that you can get attachments for it. So you could like put the GBA thing on the bottom and the screen on the top, and like it's trick out your GameCube.
The Earthbound or Mother 3 Game Boy Micro is the most
oh,
beautiful
it's so
device ever
awesome.
made. I have one somewhere, can't get it right now.
I
But that
imagine
one,
that's super rare, right?
yeah, I don't know. I think all of the Game Boy Micros are pretty pricey now and hard to get. And then, guys, the Switch is gorgeous. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
Switch design is just so nice. I really like the way it feels too. The plastic.
Same with the Switch Lite. I think it's a
Mhm.
really cool design.
I mean, the Switch Lite, I think, is a better design than the Switch, right? Like it is. I said this in my review of the Switch Lite. I love my Switch and I love the design of the Switch, but you look at the Switch Lite and you're like, oh, this is like this is years and years and years of Nintendo knowing how to design a handheld system, just like funneled perfectly into this device that I already love. Whereas the Switch, once you look at the Switch Lite, you look at the Switch and you go like, oh yeah, they had to make some compromises in order to get it to switch. And when you don't have to make those compromises, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I think it's still a gorgeous little system. But yeah,
You
the Switch
you
Lite
have
is great.
Yeah, you have to pick one up and then pick up a Wii U tablet. And like the way the Wii U tablet feels, just material wise, it's like from another galaxy. Like the Switch just is so nice and like it feels more weighty and
Mhm.
high quality.
Yeah, it's weird going back to pick up the Wii U gamepad, like you said. It feels more like so much more like a toy than the Switch does.
Totally.
Honestly, one of my favorite designs they've ever done too is just the original 3DS. Like the original 3DS, I thought was inherited kind of the nice, sleek size, that sort of rectangle brick from like the DS Lite, except it just improved it in certain ways. And that was, I loved carrying that thing anywhere I went. That was a great, great design
It's
handheld.
very portable. Could actually fit in some of my pockets, which I
And
can't
then
say for most other things.
And then special editions, I do really like the Metroid 3DS XL as well. The really
Oh
orange
yeah.
looking one, it's very pretty. The Zelda one with the Triforce,
I love
yeah,
that one.
yeah. There's some pretty systems there, and then there's some really hideous ones like the Pikachu N64.
Oh god, yeah.
Uh,
Tom, you mentioned the white or the DS Lite. The white launch DS Lite's one of my favorite. That's one of the most beautiful handhelds ever made. I think it was like one of the first times Nintendo was really like, okay, we're gonna make a consumer level product that's like almost straight up Apple, and it doesn't feel at all like a kid's toy, even though it totally still was, which I love it for.
So, yeah, there are a lot of Nintendo systems that we like and appreciate. But this next question is from Sean Kersey, and he says, you can play Streets of Rage 4 using the SNES controller and Switch. What other
Whoa.
Switch games do you think are perfect with the SNES controller?
Anything with, I mean, any game with digital grid based stuff or kind of classic feel to it. Like I would count games like Picross in there. I actually have, I don't like puzzle games being controlled with sticks usually, and I'm always
Mhm.
bummed when there are games that don't have a D-pad or button option. So I think all of those would be great for sure.
I'll be the broken record that I am and say that probably Celeste and Hollow Knight are both great with
Yeah,
a Super Nintendo controller because they're both simple button games, 2D.
Yeah,
yeah.
basically like any side scroller.
Anything that doesn't require analog movement for sure. Like Streets of Rage is just perfect for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This next question is from James Gold, and he says, do you think it's likely a Mario collection could still come out this year given the rumor Nintendo has delayed its E3 Direct and is having difficulties working from home?
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I think so. I think it kind of depends on when they were planning on it coming out, right? Like if
Mhm.
they were planning for it to be December 25th as the release date, then maybe no, we won't see it. But I don't think that they were planning for it to be that late. So yeah, I think it's totally likely we'll still see it this year.
Mhm.
I think ports, collections, all of that aren't as difficult as games that are new designs and require a lot of back and forth, code transfers, feedback loops, all of that stuff. for them to port, a classic Mario game and get sign off from Nintendo is probably a lot easier than Nintendo working on a brand new game and getting all the feedback and everything aligned. So
yeah,
if anything is going to be on time, it's those collections and things.
I don't know if you guys saw, but I believe it was just this week. A huge fan of Mario 64 basically reverse engineered the game's code to run natively on PC, and it looks stunning. It's unbelievably good looking. And so I'm hoping that's something they're able to do. It seems like he was able to do that by himself from home, so maybe they can do that. I will say the Mario collection thing is a little weird because I want that more than anything, but there are a bunch of NES and Super NES Mario games across the online apps right now, and so they're sort of splintered. I don't know if no, I'll answer this question. Yes, I would definitely buy them all over again because I'm stupid. But I will say that sort of deflates my excitement a little bit for having all the Marios on one card or one box. But we'll see.
This next question is from Paulo Navarro, and he says, "What are you realistically anticipating Nintendo's big holiday game to be this year?"
God, it's a tough one.
Mario collection.
Yeah, something Mario, if not the collection. That I think is the safest bet.
Yeah, I think we all agreed that Metroid was no way, and possibly Zelda, but with this whole development situation now, I don't think a lot of us had any major faith in Zelda making it.
Yeah, I was pretty confident saying that there was a total possible, it's a total possibility that Zelda was this year, and I still think that there is a possibility.
There is a possibility for sure.
It's just with COVID, it definitely weakens that possibility a little bit. And then also, I don't think it was ever a surefire thing. So I think that's since there's no date on it, I imagine they'll play that one safe. I'd imagine their big holiday thing is a bunch of Mario.
Yeah,
I think it's Pokemon. I think we'll get a brand new Pokemon. I'm with you guys where I don't really think that we're going to get another. I don't think we'll get the Breath of the Wild sequel this year. I don't think we'll get Metroid this year. I think they'll ride off of Animal Crossing for a while. I think they'll probably put out some sort of complete edition of Smash Brothers when that's all said and done.
With all the DLC.
Yeah, there were. Remember some of the rumors, right? Retro obviously hasn't made a new, a new Donkey Kong series game in a while. There were rumors around a Star Fox title for them. We haven't seen anything from Retro in so long. This might be the big holiday title that we get from them, or they basically jumped right into Metroid, and whatever progress they made is on hold over there. Who knows, right?
Right. Yeah. We don't know if it was all hands on deck over there or not.
But there's Pikmin still coming.
This might be slightly less realistic, but based on timing of previous Mario games, I assumed that they would announce another new Mario game during E3 this year, which might have been a holiday release.
Like a Galaxy 3.
Because we haven't. Odyssey came out 3 years ago? 3 years ago in October.
Long? No, is it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was launch year for the Nintendo Switch. That
2017. Yeah. So 3 years ago this holiday season, and we usually get a new Mario game every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Zelda
realized
similar boat, right? Zelda will have been 3.5 years by holiday season. So
yeah, I mean, maybe both. Maybe that was their Nintendo competing with the new consoles, a new Mario and a new Zelda, right?
Yeah, that would be a heck of a way to compete. Brian, I'm curious. You said Pokemon, but what would you expect from a new Pokemon? Because they've got the expansion pass already coming, right? So I wouldn't think of I wouldn't expect something like an Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon type of thing for a past game. I don't know what they would do in terms of new Pokemon.
It might be another in the Let's Go series. But
I mean, it just seems really weird. Personally, it would just seem really weird to me for them to release a new Pokemon 2-pack or something like that, or 2 new Pokemon games, or even really one main
2-pack
Pokemon game. You know what I mean?
A wrapper.
But it would be weird to do that when they have DLC coming out this summer and then DLC coming out again in the winter, and like maybe we're leaning into a new cadence of Pokemon releases.
I think I would probably pick up Pokemon Biggie over Pokemon Tupac personally. But I would like that, especially if they're Bloods and Crips colors.
Red and blue. I mean, that's the original one. Just
exactly.
go with that.
When was the last time they took a year off of releasing a new Pokemon game?
I mean, yeah, it's true.
Right? So I feel like they'll do something.
A
Between
version?
X and Y and Omega Ruby and Sapphire?
Maybe
I don't remember the years that those came out.
Maybe they've been busy making every Pokemon and releasing a new version that has them all.
Yeah.
Oh, Casey.
Yeah, they
I don't know. I don't know what Pokemon's doing.
They don't take years off, but also they don't ever really do DLC. So we'll have to see if they're just like changing the winds with that one.
Yeah, I'd say that these DLC expansions like are the Pokemon release, but it could be another Let's Go year. I mean, that's what I assumed they would be doing. I assumed they'd be doing Let's Go, new original Let's Go, like going on and off every other year. But that's pretty ambitious. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good note. We'll see. I'm curious, and again, I dropped Pikmin, like the kind of remake of Pikmin 3 coming back with some expanded content is not strong enough to stand on its own, I think, as a holiday title, but maybe this is going to be an off year for them. With 2 new competing consoles coming out, you'd hope it wouldn't be, right? You'd hope they bring their A game. We'll see.
Do you guys have time for one more question?
Sure, let's do it.
We almost got through all of our question block questions this week. Let's do it. It's from David Barber, and he asked, do you feel Animal Crossing needs more accessibility options? Fishing is a pain with the visual impairment, not to mention jet black scorpions during dark nights. Then there's mole crickets and shooting stars, which must be a real pain if you're deaf. I didn't even think about all of these problems.
Oh, that's a good point.
And now that he's bringing up these points, like, yes, it would be nice for you to be able to turn on an assist for these things, because if you don't hear the shooting star, like, how do you know?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, they could do stuff with rumble around it or some sort of visual clue for sure. It's something that we don't think about playing these games, and then you hear somebody with a disability bring it up. You're like, oh yeah. I mean, I feel like the color modes and brightness adjustment modes are pretty easy adds for any developer at this point to help people play those games.
The bigger answer to this question is genuine. Probably just almost every game needs more accessibility options.
Yeah, I was about to say the same exact thing.
Yeah,
it would be amazing if there were some system level things that would apply to every game, right? Like if the system maker said, here is an accessibility feature that you must have in the game, and that is, there's a brightness adjustment that will always work, and it's different from just bringing up brightness. It's like contrast and stuff, or any audio signal triggers a rumble or something. I don't know.
Or like,
I think that'd be great.
Even there are some games that do accommodate this, but with a color blindness. I actually have a friend who he can't see the difference. I don't remember which one it is, but if you ask him if something's blue or purple, he's not going to be able to tell you.
Yep.
And there are a lot of games that you kind of need to know what colors are where in order to know like what kind of target they are, etc. And some games are adding accessibility things like that. So
yep. I think Nintendo obviously took a nice step with the last system update, so they are aware, and I think that's a positive sign of the things to come.
And it's nice that we're seeing more of it. So, hey guys, that's about it for NVC this week. Thank you all for joining me during this discussion for Nintendo this week. I appreciate it. Remember, NVC comes out every Thursday at 3 p.m. on your favorite podcasting platform. If you're listening, you probably already know that, but you can write into us at nvc@ign.com or go and check out our Facebook group, the NVC forums. And remember, NVC is the only place you can
get the thing.
Get the thing. That was funny.